Welcome to a special edition here on Stoughton Media Access Community Programming. My name is Joseph Feaster, and usually you see me as a host on Community Forum, but today we want to talk about a topic which is very important for the community of Stoughton. And I have with me several important guests talking about climate change here in Stoughton, in Massachusetts, and possibly throughout the United States. So I want to take the time right now to introduce my special guest here this morning. To my immediate left is Molly Corcoran, who I've known for a long period of time, who served as a member of the Stoughton School Committee. Next to her is Aisha Olide Edwards, and she is very instrumental in this discussion that we're going to have this morning about climate change, as well as the others that I will be introducing. And next to her is Rachel Lazarus and Laura Gunn. So, ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Molly, why don't you start the conversation by telling us how we've come to this point? What made you initiate this discussion for climate change here in the town of Stoughton?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for giving us your time this morning. We're really honored to be able to speak with you today. I brought an article to town meeting a year ago, Article 71, to form a climate action plan committee for the town of Stoughton to develop a climate action plan to both address trying to fight climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and also to be prepared and to be resilient in the face of climate change. My inspiration, honestly, was from some of our surrounding towns. So I had been to an Earth Day event in Canton a few years, probably like 2018 or 2019. I was very impressed by the activism in Canton around this issue. I went to a meeting of the Sharon Sustainability Coalition in about 2019 and learned an enormous amount. That's the first time I heard about heat pumps, which we are hearing about all the time now. And I said to myself, why can't Stoughton have a vibrant, active community activists who are working toward climate change? And then I happened to discover that there are such a thing as a climate action plan, and that many towns have adopted them in Massachusetts, and they are we can talk about what they are, but that's what motivated me to bring the article to town meeting last year, when I was very happy to have the support of town meeting to form the Climate Action Plan Committee.
I just was going to ask you that because even though I've been a town meeting rep in the past, I'm not currently, so that article did pass town meeting?
That article did pass, and I will say, there was obviously people who are allowed to, share their feelings or thoughts, or maybe they're questioning the whole idea, and there was questioning of the whole idea. But I think it passed by a relatively comfortable margin, but, certainly there were people who have reservations about the whole idea. But I was, again, happy to have the support of town meeting, and I will say since then, as we've engaged in our work, I've had just a lot of positive support from town officials.
And what I didn't do, Molly, I'm making the presumption that everyone in the town knows you as well as I do. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about you, and I'm going to ask each of you to do the same also. So I'm going to give you an opportunity, Molly. I'm going to backtrack, Molly.
Thank you.
To have you introduce yourself to
I've been in Stoughton since, I would say it'll be the 20th year. This August we moved to Stoughton with our small kindergartners. My children went through the Stoughton school system and are 25 years old now. And I'm an attorney by training. I am not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, so I come to the whole topic as a layperson who's also a deeply concerned person.
Let's talk about being committed to the issues and to our planet. So thank you, Molly. Aisha, first introduce yourself and then tell us why you are signed on to this particular issue around climate change.
My name is Aisha. I literally work as an environmental health safety professional. So this is my field of expertise, and I know what I know because this is where I work. There are signs everywhere. We see them. Some of us ignore them. Some of us just take it casually. But the signs are warning signs. So I feel like when I heard about this committee, that it's a great opportunity for us to bring out this awareness campaign that we feel everyone should be motivated to join. So we're making recommendations to town meeting and to the people of Stoughton to say, hey, this is what we know, this is how we know it. The data can't lie. We see this data, we have the courses, we're following the margin, and they're pointing us towards a certain direction. We all see the signs every day. Some of us ignore it, some of us because of our busy schedule and our lifestyle. We ignore the habits that we're creating that is causing harm to us in our community. So I'm a Stoughton resident and I love my community. This is where I reside. If I know that the habits that I do and the way that I live my life is going to affect ultimately the lifestyle of my children and my grandchildren yet unborn, I have a responsibility towards my town, my community, and the people that I'm claiming to work with to ensure that they have an awareness of what they're causing to themselves. Some of us don't mean it, and that's why they object to the whole community of climate action plan. Some people do not have the awareness yet, so they do not understand. That is why we're here today, to bring that awareness to them. What are the habits that I'm continuously practicing that is dangerous or is causing harm to my community? I would let some of my other committee members speak about that, because we need to know the who, the what, the where, the how of why we got here. This is not where we started from, and something is happening to our community, and we're hoping.
Well, we're going to come back to that who,
Yes.
what, when, and where
Yes.
for sure. That
Yes.
that's what we lawyers learn, Molly, from everything that we want to do. So we're going to practice it here this morning as well, Aisha. And so, Rachel, introduce yourself to our viewing audience and tell us why you're involved with this subject matter.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lazarus. I moved to Stoughton in 2016. I have 3 beautiful daughters, 2 of whom are currently at the Gibbons. And my husband and I moved here because we really wanted to live in a community where we knew that there would be a lot of great care taken, where it was a growing and diverse community. We wanted to also be able to make a difference in the town. We wanted to step in and really grow roots here, and I think that's important. By my trade, I am a researcher. I have a master's in public policy from the University of Chicago. And one of the things that I was really trained in there is to look at things for the cost-benefit analysis, the practical assumptions. You can make the best plan in the world, but if it's too hard to follow, no one's going to follow it. One of my guiding lights for working on this, one of my touchstones, is that I want to make sure that the things are practical and capable and efficient in a way that it's, people sometimes will say, like, well, I don't want my taxes to go up. I don't want this is too expensive. We're not a wealthy enough time to do this. And I want to say to that, 2 things very quickly is just, one, the changes that we're asking to make and the changes that we're working in are extremely practical, extremely cost efficient. And the other changes that we are thinking of, or the things that we are proposing, the change is going to happen whether or not it happens now. Right now is the time where there is money flowing in to make climate-friendly infrastructure improvements. This is the best moment. The other thing that I really want people to come away from this knowing is that a lot of people think, well, I'm just one person, we're just one town, what can we do? We can't stop oil polluters there. There are other countries that are making so much of a mess that we don't need to do our part. And I don't like that attitude at all. I grew up very strongly with the attitude that you make the difference where you're standing. And over the last half decade, there have been so many people all over the world working on so many different things, working on reforesting, keeping places green, cleaning up pollution. I was a 90s kid. I grew up being taught you have to really snip each of those 6-pack cans. But now we're being able to do biodegradable plastics. Like, things are improving. There are projections that the Earth might be heating up to like 5 degrees Celsius. Right now, the predictions are under 2 degrees. We've still got a lot to go, but we really are. Our actions are making that difference right now. And I think that's so important to remember as we're doing this. We're continuing the work. We're not making a giant change. We're going with the flow, and that flow is for a better future for all of us.
Well, this is going to be a robust conversation because I can just sit here and just absorb it all and just say, and that's what I'm going to look to do.
I just have the monologue prepared.
Well, Laura Gunn,
Hello.
introduce yourself to our viewing audience, and then have your say as well as to why you are involved in this subject matter.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here with us. I echo everything that my fellow panelists have said. So I'm Laura Gunn. I grew up in Stoughton. I went through the Stoughton school system. I left for a while to get a graduate degree in environmental health sciences and toxicology, and came back to Stoughton because I love it in Stoughton. I have my children here. My parents still live here right across the street. And when I came back from my graduate work and settled back here, this really became home again to me. And putting your children through the school system and seeing your parents kind of retired and living their life, you feel a sense of responsibility for where the people that you love and care about are living their life. And I wanted to get as involved as I could in the town. So we're all part of town meeting and part of different committees. When Molly raised this, the idea of this committee, it just seemed like a tremendous opportunity to serve the town as well as, you know, my own family in raising awareness about climate change and helping people understand what they can do as individuals and what we can do as a town as a whole to start to make a difference in some of the changes that the others have mentioned. Because my graduate work isn't something that is related to the topic, I also thought that it might be a great opportunity to put some of my education towards helping the community. And I've been really honored to be part of the committee because of the commitment of everyone on the committee and the ideas that we've already been coming up with in terms of recommendations for things that anyone could do. I think one of the challenges with climate change is the information that's out there is pretty complex. There's a lot of science that's either difficult to understand, or there's misinformation kind of presented as real information. And I think one of the purposes of the committee is to also help sift through some of that and help people understand what some of the data says, what it also isn't saying, and how people can feel best informed to then really understand what it is that they can do to do their part to slow and prevent climate change from going further.
Well, very impressive, and I grew up with a program called Mission Impossible. Many of you, some of you look too young to be able to have seen that program. But anyway, I'm going to liken Molly to what the person was Mr. Phelps, because Mr. Phelps used to assemble his team, and he'd say, I'm going to have this person, I'm going to have Ilya Kuryakin with me this particular week on this particular program. Molly, that's what I see that you have done here. You've assembled a great team with diverse but connected expertise in what would need to bring the issue together. You have persons who are in the field, we have the person who initiated, we have the policy, I'm a governmental guy, political person, and we have a person who has studied it and worked in that area as well, and all of you committed. So I'm just going to ask questions, jump in, add on, each of you, this is your program. I just want to be able to elicit enough information so that one can say, what might I be able to do? So the first one I have is, I know you introduced the article because of some of the things that you've seen going on in other adjoining towns, but what did you see with regards to Stoughton, and that's any of you, that as a community, that we need to get our act together on the climate change issue right now? And I ask that of any and all of you who would want to respond to that.
Well, if you read actually some of the other climate action plans, which are all available, type in Massachusetts Climate Action Plan, you can come up with 10 or 20 or whatever. You will see, again, the community engagement, the engagement with town officials, and you'll see, for example, towns that are going to electric vehicles for their municipal fleet and even some of their police vehicles. You will see towns that are have a plan, which may be a multi-year plan, to decarbonize their buildings. So, which involves energy conservation and weatherization measures, which are complex, and then ultimately replacing, the oil furnace or the gas heating system with environmentally friendly heat pump. You will see these climate action plans talk about engaging with students and what issues can we look at with the school. So I would say my takeaway was other towns have addressed, are making progress, have a plan, and even are analyzing data, like how do we get to net zero emissions by such and such year, and that type of comprehensive, planned out focus does not exist in the town, other than the one sort of bright spot that we have is that at the Energy and Sustainability Committee's insistence, that's a different committee in town, the town several years ago, maybe 5, hired as a consultant an energy manager. So that consultant, Kathy Stanley, is an advisory member of our committee, and what she has done is taken grant funding. So again, this is money that's being granted. If you were in the right place to have a plan, you can get some grants for some of this. Grant funded money to go through and weatherize and improve the energy efficiency of town buildings, which you immediately have cost savings from that. So again, it's this sort of sensible planning solution. So that's something that we have in our favor. We've done that, but there's so much work to be done. Again, if you look at these other climate plans, solid waste issues, nature-based solutions, like what do we do to preserve the nature that's out there in the tree canopy that's out there. Nature-based solutions may also be flood prevention oriented nature-based solutions. So it's sort of like seeing what the other towns were doing and realizing really that Stoughton has a long way to go in focusing its attention and also in developing an actual plan.
And go ahead, Laura. Rachel, excuse me.
That's okay. Or close. I just wanted to say that I've been a library trustee member since I think 2017. So I was there from the beginning of the time that we started building the new library until it was opened in 2019. And I got to see from that how wonderful the people of Stoughton are, how much they really wanted this community hub, the effort that it takes to get through the process, the red tape, years and years of Pat Basler and the other members of the committee sitting on building meetings and getting plans and everything, and then getting to see the wonderful results of it, which is this beautiful building that people want to rent out for weddings, where we can have so many wonderful things. And it is inspirational for me to be able to think like, well, if we can do this, we can do pretty much anything. And again, like the library was built with matching funds from Massachusetts State Library Board Commission. So we were able to build this beautiful building for less than half of what it actually would cost because of all of these funds coming in. So this is a great time for us. The same time that Massachusetts, the Department of Energy, Environmental Protection, they have a lot of matching grants out there as well. So that's really exciting. I'm also, and I am going to plug this several times, we are doing community surveys to try to reach out to people, including SMAC viewers right now. Some of you have seen it, and the URL should be going up. And it's also on Facebook and other places. We want to hear from you what kinds of things you think are important for us to focus on in this town. We've gotten suggestions for creating better bike lanes. People really want a composting option, and that's happening. That's happening faster than our climate action plan is coming up, because when we get these suggestions, we actually do talk to the select board, we talk to people, we try to connect with programs that already existed. There was a composting program and a rain barrel program that I had no idea we had. When I started looking in the documents, it was already there. We'd already thought of it. So some of this really is just connecting people with the resources that already exist, the amazing resources of people who live and work in this town, really coming together and kind of making it clear the work we've already done, the work that we've already said we're going to do, the 10-year plan that involves that the town has already, the 10-year master plan already has some of the things we would have been recommending in the climate action plan. So you don't have to recommend that. We just have to make sure it gets done.
Well, to that point, I mean, when I first moved here to Stoughton in '98, there was an issue around an area which I thought was conservation land, and it was tree cleared right near my house. So at that time, I had them, I thought I was successful in having to put in a tree ordinance. If you take away a tree, then developer, you had to plant it. I'm not sure that still is being followed, but that too, from a public policy standpoint, you need to do. But I want to come to you, Aisha, for a minute. Since you were and to you, Laura, because you folks are practitioners in the area, and you in terms of job wise. If I ask you, tell me if you've done that type of survey, what are some of the things in Stoughton that you've seen that are problematic from a climate action standpoint? I mean, I can think about they did some tree clearing over where I am on West Street. We have Ames Pond in terms of what's going on. So I'm sure there are more places and things and activities. And even when I was an interim town manager, we put a new roof on the on Town Hall. Well, did we think about the environmental or climatic issues? I doubtful. We said we needed a new roof and we put it on. Or when you were there, school committee with the school, with the construction of the high school, Molly, and all of that. So are there any specific outliers right now that would be of concern to you being a practitioner in the field?
Absolutely. Like if you look at the demographics of this town in Stoughton, we have a lot of diverse community and we have a lot of diverse people. The awareness campaign is so low that people are not having that opportunity to get the right information. We need to focus more on clarity. So we already know what this situation is all about in Stoughton. But the opportunity for us to pass this message across is really very difficult because we have some, loopholes right there and here. Talk about the new school that we want to build, the whole green school. The plan is out there.
That's the South School.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the South School.
To replace the South School.
Right, the middle school that we
The
want
middle
to do.
school. We're going to present it out there. There's a lot of works going in. But some people totally do not even agree with that. That's something that's supposed to help us as a community to grow. We're looking at the future of this town. And then just talk about the whole composting that she just presented. And then talk about the whole greenhouse effect. We have a lot of sun in Stoughton because of where it's placed. But we're not managing those resources to move towards a cleaner energy. Governor Baker stood on that executive order to say, hey, we're driving this move for a cleaner energy. What is Stoughton as a town doing, to get to that point? Again, as a community, I live here. My children live here. They're growing here. You live here. Sincerely, ask yourself, in the past 5 years, have you seen any changes in terms of the weather? You know what I'm talking about, but I'm not just going to say it out there because I don't want someone to misquote what I'm saying. We've seen these changes. We're hearing about these changes. So when we present these recommendations out
Let's
to
talk
town
specifically.
meeting,
What are the changes? I want to say,
Yes. Oh,
I want a litany of the
specifically.
things that are a problem. For instance, we talked earlier, I was saying, fine.
Yeah.
We haven't really had a
Snow.
winter
Yeah.
in a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's going to have an impact.
Yeah.
It is having an impact.
Okay, so it's
Last
any
summer-
like any specifics like that. I want to be able for people, because some people are going to say, oh, they're talking about it, but some people we need to show them what they are experiencing.
Exactly.
So let's get
And
a
I
list
actually-
going of things that are going on.
Of
As I
course.
said, I was going to mention the survey, and the very first question is, are you seeing changes in the weather? Do you see anything? And there are so many people who are saying,
Yes.
yeah, the lakes don't freeze over as much. You can't ice skate on the
Yeah.
lakes outside anymore. When I was a kid, you were able to. People are saying we're either getting like a deluge of rain that's lasting for, feels like a week, or we're getting no rain at all. Last summer, the wildfire smoke, it doesn't usually go to us. The sky was red. It was terrifying.
For days.
For days and days. And that could be what it's like all the time if we don't work together. And just the quality of life is different. The plants that are growing are different. I mean, we were talking earlier, I grew up on a town on the Jersey Shore that the entire economy is tourists coming to the beach in the summer. And after Hurricane Sandy, the boardwalk is not the same. The beach has never recovered. The community is losing people so quickly because there isn't an economy, there isn't that robustness to fall back on. People just kind of assumed the beach is always going to be here, the ocean will always be here. They didn't do the work, and my hometown is now really suffering because of that. I don't want that to happen in Stoughton. It's very real. And there are so many opportunities right now to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And Aisha, I know you wanted to chime
Yes.
in.
So my projection or our recommendation as a community is telling Stoughton, we're here to create that awareness. We see the pushback. The pushback is mainly because people do not have the clarity. They don't have those data that it's supposed to work towards to point them towards the right direction. We've been in school community programs, and we try to ask them about the activities that we're indoctrinating in our school. The exposure is really, really low. So we're trying to work with the school community just to see how we can pass that across. Mainly here in Stoughton, my son usually, he's older now, but he usually likes to play in the snow. And just this last winter, he literally had anything to play with.
Yeah.
And we all know that this is true. Summer is coming up, but it doesn't really look like summer. It's like a wet summer.
Right.
So,
Well,
The-
see,
the season
that's what I
changes.
want. I mean, those are the types of things that I want to, and I want to bring you to the conversation, Laura, in the sense of the one who has studied this and you've lived here, and this, you, as you said, you're a Stoughtonite because
Yeah.
you were,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
townie.
you were,
We're
well, the town of Charlestown will take that name away from you. They want to be known as Charlestown wants to be known as the Townies, but. I mean, from your perspective, I mean, both having studied this, have in terms of lived here, seen these changes, what has it meant to you in the sense of the types of things that you want to bring to people's attention?
So thank you for that, and again, agree with everything that has been said. I think one of my areas of biggest concern is in the realm of public health. So we're thinking about the environment, and we're talking about, you know, changes in the weather, and with that, we see things that have a direct impact on the health of human beings. And I think it was Molly or Aisha that mentioned at the beginning that part of our plan, our recommendations, has to do with resilience and our infrastructure to protect our town members in the case of some of the fallout of climate change. So I'll give you an example. Extreme heat. So that's something we're seeing a lot more of, you know, longer periods of time at very high heat. We know that high heat puts certain sensitive populations in our town at risk.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to make sure, you know, that's not something that's going to change overnight in terms of the high heat. That's something that will take time to adjust. But we need to be ready to make sure that people are able to be safe and maintain their health in those kinds of scenarios. Another example would be insects, changing of the number and type of insects and insect-borne diseases or illnesses. You know, that's something that we've seen increase over time over the last 20 years. That's a direct relationship to the change in our climate. Other things like when you think about the oceans and how you can't catch cod off of Cape Cod anymore, you have to go to Iceland. You know, the patterns of where animals are able to survive and thrive have changed. That again has an immediate impact on people's ability to get the same food they're used to getting. So it has a real health component to it as well. So there's the solving the root cause, but then there's also the readiness to make sure that we're able to be resilient while we're trying to figure some of these things out.
You raised some interesting points on, because some towns, and I think we've experienced it here as well, we've had an increase in coyotes that are here. I think we've had a lessening of the deer, notwithstanding the hunting season that occurs in between the fall and the winter. But as you say, all of these things are changing. 2 points that I want to ask the question on. I know each of you have talked about resources that may be available now. And I really, again, I'm a political guy. What is the role, can be the role of government here? I want to know what our select board can and should be doing. What type of leaders should be coming from our town manager with regards to this? Because, when I was here as interim town manager, my sense was I had responsibility for the entire town.
Yeah.
And so what message can we be? Our form of government is interesting, and I won't get into whether I want it or not, or change or not. That could be another program, but it is the one we have, and so we go through a process. I think it was you that said it, Rachel. It takes so long to go through the process of trying to get something done. You got to go through all of the committees and town meeting committees, and that comes from the Board of Selectmen's recommendation to the the municipal this and municipal that committee, then up from that committee to the town meeting, and find that takes years in order to implement something. And I'm not sure from what all of you are saying. We have years to be talking about what's going to be the impact here.
I'll probably just like
Yeah.
start off from here. If I bring a recommendation to the select board or to town meeting, it's one thing for town meeting to accept it, it's another thing for them not to. But the best way that you could have a recommendation out there is to have a visualization board. Do you have data? Do we know what we need here in Stoughton in terms of climate action plan? What is the data saying? Do we have someone who we're working with, like a consultant who is giving us the resources? We're not talking about using resources that we have 10 years ago. We all know that what we have 10 years ago is not applicable to what we have today. So do we have that foundation? Do they set us up right to have that foundation, to have those resources, those data that we can use in planning towards the success of this future in this town?
Well, we always say that people, I want to talk about resources, and I know that you may be going to hit on that point as well, Rachel. When I'm talking about the resources, I'm talking about, okay, we want to do this. There's federal money, state monies that might be, because when you're talking to folks, one, you can talk to people about something that's directly affecting them that may get action. But the other one is, well, it may be affecting me. It's not my issue right now, and I don't want to pay for it.
Thank
so what are there any resources that can be brought to the town's attention that might be used to undergird any types of monies that the town may have to put towards that?
Molly. Molly.
You
I
can
have
talk
a-
and then I can add to that.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, I just wanted to say that yes, it is a long process going through local government, and it is a tiring process. And sometimes you wonder if anything will get done. And I just want to thank Molly so much, just endless energy for this, endless focus on this. It is really inspirational for me to be working with you on these topics. I've learned a lot about leading a meeting successfully and listening to other people and including all of the best things and being so gracious about it. So this is a pleasure of a committee to serve on because of your leadership. Talking about the resources that are available, you can ask me. I just installed a heat pump on my house because of Mass Save. I don't think I quite understood it, and I will be the first to admit I do not understand the science behind it. But my house is so much cooler now. And the summer is coming up, and I'm not going to have to nag my husband to get the air conditioners out of the attic and have to put them in and then be complaining at him because why hasn't he turned it on yet, and then have to take it out when it starts getting cold. It is so much easier now because we can there's an app on my phone. I don't even need to remember where the remote is. I'm the process, a bit of a pain, but then also we're getting money back. And our bills are going to be lower. You were saying before, Aisha, about how we don't have the resources we have 10 years ago. We also have no idea what the resources are going to be like in 10 years from now. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, no one had a cell phone. We can't keep living the way that we did in 2000, in 1950, in 1980. The world changes, the ability of the different types of resources that are available are changing. This is Massachusetts. This used to be a part of the country that was run on whale oil. We don't need to run on whale oil anymore. And we don't need whale oil anymore. And nobody thinks of using that. But if we were traditional, we would. But that's not efficient anymore. And oil and gas, natural gas, they are not going to be the most efficient sources soon. Electric and solar power and natural resources are going to be the cost-efficient thing. We want to do the change in infrastructure now, while there is so much federal and state money available, and not in 10 or 15 years from now when it's going to be more expensive and we're going to have to have paid that higher cost of oil and gas. And this is just talking about the financial and not the environmental impacts that it would have. So, but just clearly, just looking at your at the purse strings. It is better. I'm going to sound like I'm paid by it. No, not except for the rebate. I'm not. Getting the air duct installed, getting those heating pumps installed, so much better for our budget just as a family. For the town, it's going to have dividends. We're not going to be paying bad money after bad. We're going to be able to focus on the infrastructure improvements that people are asking for. Even the people who don't think that the weather is changing are still saying, yeah, I want infrastructure improvements. Yeah, I am worried about, the increase in disease. I do want to know that Stoughton's prepared for that. So even if you think climate change, if you don't agree with the science behind climate change, we can have that discussion later. But the practical implements of it, you want this now. Everyone does want this now. It is nearly unanimous across the poll results that we've been getting. So
Well, let me
I would
just-
like, can I
yeah,
talk
what-
about
yeah.
the leadership
Yeah.
issue
Yes.
and the politics and,
Yes.
well, I should say the pragmatic, getting something done and getting change. There is maybe a tension between what the normal standard procedure is and really the government we have to operate under in this town and even in the state, and the fact that we're in a climate emergency. So there's two paths of action in the town of Stoughton. One is obviously through town government. What do I want? I want town leaders to be out front on this issue. I want them to be leaders on this issue. And we're inspired by Governor Baker's executive order, I don't know the number, which was all about, it was called leadership by example. So it was like, we, the state, are going to decarbonize our building, energy conservation, electric vehicle fleets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's many components of that. We want to use that model and have our town officials adopt those ideas and adopt those as a plan. Is some of that going to take years to change a specific building in town? The whole thing will take years, but actually starting to take steps will be quicker. There's a lot of funding out there. There's the grant funding, there's Inflation Reduction Act funding. There's a new IRS program, which I'll be talking about at town meeting, to help fund municipalities taking action. Let's look at the other half of that. Individuals and businesses in the town, how do they take action? They don't need to wait for the town meeting every year. They don't need to wait for the select board for it. They can take a look right now on everything they're doing and not doing and make dramatic changes, I would say within the course of 6 months to a year, in their household, in their choices, in their transportation, in how their home is heated. Take a look at your food choices if you wish to. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to make any recommendations about food choices, but for some people, that might be the easiest and most cost-effective thing to do as an individual, choosing what you do with respect to your climate footprint. The recycling and composting, another actually literally free thing you can do that can make a big impact on your climate footprint. So we want to promote awareness. And there is, I'm going to speak to the camera here, there's a link on our website, so the Climate Action Plan Committee website. It's a link to action steps. Those action steps is, there's a couple of pages there. It's all taking you to Mass Save. Mass Save will tell you about tax incentives, rebates, whatever it may be. I forgot to mention solar panels. That's another thing a household can do. So we can make enormous strides quickly as individuals and collectively, and the town does have to go through its process, but if our town leaders step forward and say, this is top of mind for us, this is part of every consideration of every decision we can make, let's accelerate as much as we can the changes as much as we can afford, and again, we're trying to be pragmatic. At the same time, we're in an emergency.
Well, I want to just, sometime you have to draw parallels to things that you were doing, and we have all sat through our new firehouse.
Okay,
If you
wow.
use that as an, that's a parallel for me for what you were just saying, Molly,
Yeah.
as far as government action. I think the firehouse has been through at least 5 town managers and multiple town meetings, and we're still not there in terms of creating that. We were fortunate enough to get the high school and the library in during some of those time frames, but if you look at when they were first initiated and when we got there, so I guess my impatience as far as action is there, because that's my personality. It's just do it. To use the Nike commercial, just do it. Let's get the job done. So if I were to ask you, and fine, and I want to put the leadership on blast.
blast.
If you're going to sit in a leadership position, you got to lead, and sometimes leading is controversial, etc. So I guess what I want you to do, and all of you or one of you can speak to it. I want you to speak to. I'm always want to be in an educating mode. So
Yes.
again, to tell people, just as you outlined, or several of you have outlined, specific things that you can take and do, because then people can say, "Oh yeah, I never thought about that." I want us to really drill down on that. I also want to talk about what is the level of support, Molly, that you're seeing for this Article 71, and then two, what does the opposition look like? What are they saying? In our conversation earlier, I was bringing to you what I'm just experiencing across this world, but particularly across this nation. Look at all these places that are getting tornadoes where they didn't get them before, because it used to only be Tornado Alley. Now it's tornado all across almost the West and the Midwest. We're getting, in terms of flooding, we're getting people's houses totally decimated. We're getting flooding in all places where in terms of fine they weren't. I have friends in Georgia, they're getting climate that's 40 degrees when, after a while, I think the people are going to be coming up here during the winter time versus going to places like Florida because of climatic changes. So my sense is this, and then across the world, forget the tsunamis and everything else. So talk to the folks here about all of this. Put it in however you want to, because I would suspect that I probably have a master producer that let me know how much time I have, because I want to make sure that we cover as much as we can. But my sense is let's wrap all of this in, and I just want all of you just to chime in, jump in. This is your time to shine and to get the information out. So run with it, whoever wants to go with it.
I will take a lead here. Educative wise, we want people to know that the climate action plan, it's towards saving our town. It's not a personal ambition. It's a recommendation, not to infringe on anyone's rights, but just to educate people to say, hey, this is what is going out there. If you have a 5-year-old child and you continually feed the 5-year-old child with carbohydrate, they will not grow as expected. So we're telling the town of Stoughton, hey, we have a real problem that is about to face us. We're trying to build resilience on how to mitigate this. So our awareness campaign is the first thing. If you feel like you have any challenge, if there's any topic that you do not understand, or if there's any conflicting ideas, you can come to us, you can fill out the survey, you can reach out to us. We have our URL, it's set up here. And we can engage and have that conversation there out. And then we also want to encourage people to have practical, culpable habits that will help to change our environment, the way we live. The less of the plastics that we use, the composting, whatever you can do on your end as an individual to help the community grow towards that. The floods are coming, they're coming. But we're hoping that if we can get this article and we can move it real quickly, we can have enough resources, we can have the data, we can work with a consultant that will help us build those resistance that we need to mitigate this before they actually hit us as a town. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to jump in very quickly and say, again, the survey results are saying these are really popular. I would say it's over 90% of the people who say, yes, the weather is changing. And everyone wants these improvements to be made. It is not a politically risky opinion to be, as a leader, to be supporting these things. It is popular, and it is, I think, something that many people don't go marching about, but it is something that they want in their lives. And I think that means it is up to the people who really want us to be working on climate action plan, really want our town to be going forward. You guys need to be vocal, fill out the surveys, come join us, come sit at our meetings and let us talk to you about this. We want to hear from you in how to make the town a better and greener and more resilient. I will say that, some people are on social media a little too much, and it's kind of bad because you're not listening to what we're actually talking about, the actual infrastructure improvements we want to make, the policies that we make. They're the ones that some people who think that they are against the climate action plan, they're actually for everything we're actually putting in the plan. So it's a little bit like, I want to talk to you. I don't want you to just use buzzwords, and we don't need to bring all that into it. Right here, right now, we can talk about what changes do you want made in Stoughton. We can make that in a green way. We can make that in a beautiful way. We can make that in a cost-efficient way. We can do this. We have a lot of the pieces. We just need to put them together.
And can I just jump in there, because you've referenced engaging the community. A key part of a climate action plan and the committee's work is community engagement. We had an open public forum in February at the library. Had a pretty good turnout, would have loved to had 100 people. We promoted it as much as we could, including through all the town messaging. We will continue to have those meetings, and those will be, we definitely want to engage in the back and forth, hear what people are thinking, hear perhaps even their fears about a climate action plan. So we will do that, and we, with consultant assistant, I think they will actually be running some of those meetings, and perhaps may do a better job than we did when we ran the meetings. So we want to let people know there will be continued open public forums, climate change discussions. We want people to attend, and we invite that. And also, I like to say at the same time, I'm not on social media. I do not babysit. I do not police social media. There may be a lot of misstatements out there, but we don't have time to respond to all of those. But we do want people to look at our meetings, look at our agendas, look at our minutes, come to the public engagement events, and let's really, have a positive dialogue.
Yeah.
And Laura, I was coming to you. So
Thank
yeah.
you. I was just taking a breath, getting ready. I was gonna speak a little bit to what you were asking about. What is the opposition saying, and I think we're not unique in that there is kind of a diversity of thought on climate change. We have quite a spectrum of beliefs and scientific evidence, and that's okay. I think that's one thing. We're not here to debate whether or not climate change is real. We're here to come up with things that we think that people can do practically, implement, that will make their lives better. And we can do that in a cost-effective way. I think it tends to be human nature to think about something like changing the way that you live your day-to-day life, and people assume it's, I have to give something up. And that's not what our committee is about. We're not asking people to give anything up, but rather consider better ways of doing things. And these can be things that people do individually, like composting, or like planting a garden, or like understanding what rebates are available for electric vehicles, or the heat pumps in their houses. It's really about providing the opportunity for people to understand what they can do in a way that fits within their life, because we know it's difficult for people to think about spending more money, for example, on something that they might not feel like they're going to see the benefit. So I think for us, it's raising awareness of what the science is really telling us. It's really helping people understand where to go to get that information. And then it's helping people understand what options they have, and then what the benefit to them will be by switching to electric or doing X, Y, and Z. And then leaving it really to them to make those decisions about how best to contribute to what we're all trying to do, which is, limit the impact of climate change. And I think, everyone has their own way of looking at this, but we want to create kind of a single source of truth, of information and recommendations that people can use, so they don't have to guess or wonder or worry about whether or not the information they're getting is accurate or applies to them. And so I think in addition to our list of recommendations and our work with the select board and all of that, it really is a service to the town to help them understand, going back to something you said at the very beginning, how can one person make a difference, or how can our little town make a difference in a world of bigger problems? That's how you can make that difference, is thinking about your little slice of the world and how that can be made to be a more beneficial place for the future of our town.
Well, I appreciate, the idea that you're going to try to meet folks where they are, and in terms of the education. But I'm a Aries baby, and I just can't sit still. And wife will tell me I have ADHD. In fact, she'll tell me in the sense of that, because I like to get things moving. So, is part of your thinking say, okay, you have a educational component here. It seems to me that if you want government to lead, and you're talking about that they can do some retrofitting in their buildings and to do some things, that there would be a direct approach to government to do that. So, for instance, I know we're talking about, again, the public safety building in terms of whether the Rose Street building is going to stay, but for now it's there. We have Town Hall, we have in terms of DPW. So if they started with some of these things that you will be doing here, that's at least a start in that direction, because because I've been here long enough and have seen a number of things, and a lot of things are frustrating. For instance, I've mentioned about the firehouse. I mentioned about the depot building. I mean, in terms of I was involved. The issue, the process for getting it done is just too slow for me.
Yeah.
So my only sense is, I would suggest that you pick a project, continue your education, but do it by demonstrating it, or demonstrate it by doing it. And that's, I just, to me, at least we can go there, we can point to the building and say, we did it. When we put the new roof on the town hall, you can point to it and say, a new roof, or you clean up the bell that's right in front of the the town hall. You want to be able to point to something and say, we've accomplished it. Go ahead, Rachel.
I just have 2 points, and that's absolutely something that I want to do. And I can say that one of the things that and it was kind of spun off from the Climate Action Plan Committee to the Energy and Sustainability Committee. There is a law on the books that says you're not supposed to idle your car for longer than 5 minutes. And one of the things that we want to do is to raise awareness of that, because if you are picking up your children, there is just this haze of air pollution from all of the cars going off and all the engines going off. And it's horrible to breathe, and right at the playgrounds with our kids. And also, it's not great for your car. It's actually better to shut your car off if you're going to be going for longer than 30 seconds. You don't need to be running your car for like the 10, 15 minutes. And it used to be that your car, you had to keep the engine running so it wouldn't die. Now, the way that cars are made, they're better, they're improved. We don't have to keep the car running the whole time. You don't even have to have the car on to be running some air conditioning. So, that's an improvement. And then Laura was talking about how people are making individual things. And I can say, in my family, we're kind of getting rid of having the normal grass lawn. We want to have a pollinator garden, and this is something that we've been working on, allowing beautiful native plants to grow in our yard. And the girls love it because this means there are butterflies, and my husband loves it because he doesn't have to mow the lawn. It's wonderful. It's a win-win. And then I'm happy because we're helping improve the environment. I live right on the edge of wetlands, so we see the animals coming through. We see fireflies in the summer.
Oh, wow.
It is beautiful to have this return to nature essentially happening in our yard. It's beautiful, and it's less work in a lot of ways. So it really is. It's not just I'm not just feeling oh, I am being virtuous by doing this. I'm being lazy, and it's great.
Well, I'm looking at the time. We have about 4.5 minutes here, and I want to give each of you an opportunity to do your closing comment, because remember, we wanted to have this in Molly. Thank you for convening this. 2, asking for me to moderate this. I feel honored by that, and I'm certainly happy that I'm here in the studio after so many years, and I'm working with Miguel and Luke, who are behind the scenes. Miguel's on the camera, and Luke's behind the electronics over there, being the executive producer. Few things that I'm going to give you the opportunity for your parting 45 minutes to a minute, summary of what you'd want to say. But I also want to make sure, and 2 counts, tell our viewing audience another way that they can contact you. provide that, Molly, to Luke so that they can possibly put it on when they produce the program, put the information on how they can learn more about the work you're doing. So I'm going to start here and go on down the line, and your parting comment to our viewing audience.
Thank you, and thank you so much to committee members for coming on a Saturday, and of course for Attorney Feaster to donating his time, which I truly appreciate. We have a town email address, which is, I hope I'm going to say it correct, capcommittee@stoughton.may.gov. So you probably are familiar with the end at Stoughton, whatever. It's CAP Committee, CAP Committee. So happy to communicate with people there. We try to promote and will every community engagement we do. We will try to communicate. And you could also reach out to James Conlon, who's actually the Town Environmental Affairs Officer. He's a member of our committee, very happy to have him on our committee. He's somebody else easy to get in touch with if you have thoughts or concerns or ideas. And I would like to just turn it over to the rest of my committee members to speak, because I think I've said a lot tonight, this morning.
In closing, we will say as an Climate Action Committee, we're not trying to infringe on anybody's opinion. We're just asking people to understand that we do have this truth that is facing us, which is the climate action changes that we're experiencing. And we're only asking that people in government, people in positions, town meeting should start taking bold actions. That's what we're recommending. We need to start taking bold actions. It's not time to waste, to deliberate. We've had those recommendations out there for some time now. It is time for bold actions.
Rachel?
And again, final time, please fill out the surveys that we're sending out, because we want to hear from you. That is definitely informing the recommendations that we make and the way that we will craft the plan. And we want to make this plan great for everyone in Stoughton. We can't hear, if you don't contact us, we don't know what you want. And again, oftentimes nowadays with all of the changing technology, doing the environmentally green thing is super easy and less effort. And that's a wonderful thing. And it's working.
Laura?
And I'll just say, Stoughton is not unique in the sense that it's the only town suffering from climate change. This is a global epidemic that is climate change. But Stoughton is unique in the sense that we really do need a customized list of recommendations that are tailored to what we have as a town. We have some new buildings being built, considering environmental, green ways of doing that. We have areas in our town where we may be able to use solar panels, or we may have unique situation based on our own greenhouse gas emissions. And, there are many plans. What inspired Molly to start this in the first place was seeing other towns' plans. Stoughton deserves its own plan. We deserve a plan that's specific to us, and
Well,
that's
I'm
really
gonna have
what we're
to,
trying to
because in
say.
terms of, I don't want my producer to tell me that I run over Laura, but I want to thank you, Molly, Aisha, Rachel, Laura. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing in this area, for bringing this issue to the town's attention, and I wish you much success. Let's get it done.
Yes,
Yes.
thank
Let's get
you.
it
We
done.
are
Thank
determined
you.
to do that, and we hope with everybody's support we can make a big difference in the town of Stoughton.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
informing
Well,
our
thank
viewing
you.
audience.
Thank you so much.